And we are live, and hello, people. Today's game of choice is
Hello.
Horizon Zero Dawn, which I am totally not. I'm just going to craft a bunch of fires. I missed.
You are going to mess up on that, I think.
What the hell is that over there? Is that a snap more? Oh, okay. So it's a crocodile. I set it on fire.
Oh,
Yeah, I have been watching The Flash lately. And we are technically going to discuss a certain Doctor Who episode.
we're going to try and get some of it in.
Yeah, we're going to try and get some of it in. It's just a little bit. Oh, fuck it, I'll just start combat with these things. I really need to stop aiming where it was and aim where it will be. Got it. Hey guys, there's an enemy coming. Look.
So, yeah. Well, yes, you've been watching. You've got all the way up to almost the end of Crisis.
I know, I'm in part 4.
It's one of my favourite things in all of the Arrowverse was their adaptation of Crisis. There is so much good stuff in there. It is unbelievable.
Apparently there's a thing of an animated version that's got that had one of Kevin's last voice roles, where he's fighting the Joker at the end of it, and the Joker just is mocking him.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's part of the Arrowverse universe, but I think he did.
There's an animated one because I think DC's done an animated one recently for their animated universe, and I think they.
Oh yeah, I
did it probably. Kevin, I think, recorded all his voice lines for it before he died. I think. So it's his last
it's very possible.
animated Batman one because it's probably during the like in Arrowverse did all the cameos. It's probably doing all the cameos for the various different DC universes.
Yeah.
Because it very much is the art style and stuff from that scene that I've seen is very much Batman the animated series. It's that suit and animation style.
Well, yeah. Wait, it was just. I think I know the one you mean. It's one where he gets. Was it different? No, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know what you mean. But yeah, no, I do love Kevin Conroy as Batman. It's very sad that we're never going to get any more.
Yeah, it's also very fitting that Mark Hamill also went his head being the Joker again after he passed away. It's like, yeah, there is.
Yeah, no,
It's fitting because it's very much those two were the perfect matchup of the Joker and Batman, in terms of acting talent. The two of them played off
their voices
so well.
Yeah, their voices together were perfect. They worked together perfectly. But within the last few episodes that you would have seen, or so, maybe season, you would have seen Mark Hamill reprise his role as the Trickster from
I was like, the minute the Trickster showed up, I was like, wait a minute, is that who I think it is?
So yeah, he was actually the Trickster in the John Wesley Shipp TV series, and was incredibly popular. This was, I believe, before. I could be wrong. I could be the times wrong here. I think it was before him doing the Joker for Batman the Animated Series.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong there. The character was so popular when they did the made-for-TV movie, second movie for The Flash. It was Trickster's Return as Mark Hamill as the Trickster. So yes, you've got Mark Hamill has a history of playing slightly mad DC villains.
I recognised the voice the minute he started speaking, and then went, wait a minute, that can't be Mark Hamill, is it? And then was like, Mark, stop! You sound very much like your Joker voice right now.
Yeah.
See, I want to tame one of these things. So I can tame them in this game. So the game in the background today is Rise Zero Dawn, otherwise known as to me as Machine Taming Simulator, because all I've been doing is going around and taming random things. Right behind the rock. But yeah, The Flash has been a very fun experience to watch, because as Jax knows, and as me and Jax both know, I don't really watch DC stuff. DC's not really my thing. I'm a Marvel girl, basically. I like Marvel. I love Marvel shows.
He does.
And it's just... The Flash is one of those rare exceptions to the rule. Oh crap, that's gonna hurt. She was never seen again. I'm gonna die to a thunderjaw.
Congratulations.
Nope, I'm not here. I'm on the other side of the rock. It's gonna jump over the rock, watch.
What's the strangest things, tickets?
Hiding from the big robot.
Keep hiding, you'll be fine.
Oh, it stood on me. It's gonna kill me. I don't want to kill you. I don't want to kill you. I'm going to leave you alone. Or at least try to. But yeah, the first season of The Flash was incredibly fun. With the reveal at the end of it. Unfortunately, I have watched the first 2 seasons of The Flash before when they were on the TV. So season 1 and 2 weren't really new to me. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Very much. I already know the plot of what's going to happen in these 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's fine and dandy.
Yeah,
it's still enjoyable to rewatch.
That's the thing. It was a joy to rewatch them because there was loads of scenes I have actually, missed, having only watched them once. But yeah, I will.
It's good to get a refresh.
I will stand by my thing. Grant Gustin is basically, in my opinion, one of the better actors to play the Flash.
Like I said, I will not argue that point at all. I think he's fantastic.
But season 1 versus Reverse Flash is quite fun. Season 2 versus Zoom. It's entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, there is. I won't lie. There is definitely a connection to all of his villains. But yeah, and they didn't really go near. I wish they would have spent some time with his rogues gallery a bit more, because you got a lot with Snart and Mick, to be fair, but we never really got much with Mirror Master, which would have been fun. We got nothing with Trickster.
We got 3 episodes, and
we did, but
one of them was his son, not him.
Yes, and it wasn't. I mean, I did love his version of the Trickster, a bit more completely balmy, but yeah, I would have liked a newer actor to play it in a way. We did get Dr. Light, but once again, not really for long enough, or enough. Which was I would like to have seen a more varied rogues roster than them constantly going after the monster of the month. But to be fair, a lot of the show really was more about the interaction of the characters anyway. It was more world building with a fight at the end, which there's nothing wrong with the way that they did it. I always enjoyed it.
Blood work in season 6 is only the villain really for the first half of the season, because we have the whole preparation in season 6 up to episode 10. of.
Okay, so there is actually a particular reason for that. There was a changeover in management and in how they wanted to tell stories. So, and so what they wanted to do from now on was 2 comic books a season, basically. So, up until the first half of the season, you get one big bad, and then from the first part of the second half of the season to the end, you get another big bad or another story with a connecting story in total, but never really having to be the big story, because those would be down to halves of a season.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's what they tried to do a lot more here, and you're going to notice that now from all the seasons going forward from there.
Well, also Flash
Um,
was the only one that basically survived because the others all got cancelled eventually.
well, to be fair,
Arrow ended
they
as it
mostly
was
run
the
their
only way
course.
it could end because of its final season had the crisis, and we know what happens in crisis.
Yes and no, but also Stephen Amell wasn't signing up for anymore. He was doing with the contract. He weren't gonna add another year. He had other stuff coming up anyway. Now the argument is you just bring in another Green Arrow like you would in the comic books.
But for
DC were prepping, or Warner Brothers were prepping for the DCEU, and they were very happy to start recollecting characters at that point anyway.
oh yeah,
The next big downfall was well, they did cancel um, uh, Batgirl, but that was, I mean, that did last for 3 seasons.
oh yeah.
Supergirl wasn't cancelled. Melissa Benoist just didn't want to sign up for any more. Once again, completely fair on her. That show wasn't going to carry on without Supergirl.
Oh no, it wasn't.
Um,
Unlike the others, you can't really replace her with another Supergirl because unfortunately,
I mean, they could have at some point, I guess, done the whole Power Girl storyline in which there was a clone and does take the part of Supergirl for a bit.
mm-hmm.
And then you say that the reason she doesn't look exactly like Melissa Benoist is because it is a clone. But no, but yeah, that would also, I think, it would have been a different show. And at that point, it's kind of not what they needed. The other one that was a cancellation was uh, Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
That had a solid audience. That had a hardcore, solid audience that would watch it relentlessly. And there were times when because of that, it got better numbers than most of the other shows mid-season. But never got near enough to be something that Warner Brothers were going to care too much about. It's kind of why they got away with so much in their shows as well. But then you go to the more extended universe with things like Swamp Thing and Titans. Yeah, when they started doing DC started doing their cleanup, these were not shows that they cared too much about fighting for, um, and just literally swallowed them back into their conglomerate. Um, but yeah, I do like in what you're in
Ah, fucking hell, this
current
loading.
storyline. In your current storyline, we were talking about this earlier. All the cameos from different shows over the years. A nice little cameo early on is from Birds of Prey, which was a very short-lived show that not many people remember.
Was that the one in New
But
Gotham
yeah,
in the future?
no, I don't remember it being in New Gotham. I remember it being in Gotham because it is Huntress and basically it's the Birds of Prey from Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, but without Harley Quinn.
Yeah,
Um,
it's in the it was in the It was in the Flash episode. It's at the end. It's New Gotham, Earth 100 and something.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Huntress and Oracle. It's basically Huntress telling Oracle to get out of there, and then suddenly, as the antimatter wave hits the tower.
Yeah. Yeah, you might be right. It's been so long since I watched that show because I watched it when it was coming out, and it was. I think it was only online. Was it only online, or was I just pirating the shit out of it?
Don't we
I've
admit
got a
that?
vague feeling it was only online. Um, yeah. It is. That was a weird enough. I was talking to someone the other day about the online side of TV shows, because so he's a massive fan of Breaking Bad, as most of us were back then, and we were rewatching the first season. And the DVD that he pulled, the a season stack of DVDs he pulled out, had nothing on them. Basically, it was just a show and a couple of documentaries on the end,
Yeah.
and a commentary. Swim was like, we couldn't find one of the discs, and I was like, well, you've got where's the whole lot of them? You bought the whole lot collection. We found it, but in amongst it, special features, and it had the digital episodes that I remembered, but you know, just okay. He'd never seen them, never knew that existed until he was looking through this thing. So he was watching them, and he's like, well, these are actual proper parts of the story that you kind of, it's useful to know. Weird enough, does go into our conversation earlier about DC Marvel, how they do things.
Oh, you mean we'll get to that conversation when we get back to that conversation soon.
Yeah,
But
yeah, we were. But
definitely is.
Well, I was telling him around about that time, it was quite popular. If you had a big show, to have digital episodes or minisodes. Battlestar Galactica had them.
Doctor Who had them. I remember that having them. Marvel had them.
Doctor Who had.
Marvel had them.
So this is weird enough. So weirdly enough, that stuff came later, and that stuff came out of weirdly, I think, of a different place entirely. That came more from people really liking the short after credit scenes. So they basically made a bunch to keep people happy in between movies being released. So that's how you got the Chitauri weapon in the hands of the people that shouldn't have them. That's how you got, is it Tuesday? The episode where it's just about Coulson going for a drive to get to where Thor's hammer is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, yes, you get things like that. But so I was explaining this, but like how the older ones were, and how it kind of died off a bit, but except for in a few places, like the mini episodes for the Marvel stuff. Star Trek kept it going with the short treks.
Yep.
And what's more important is whereas the ones from Marvel, those little mini episodes were fun and filled in a gap, weren't really essential. Like if you miss those, nothing matters. With the short treks, some of those are actually quite essential to see. For instance, for the end of the second series of Discovery, the person that fixes everything and gets them the power they need, pretty much one of the main characters in that episode, is a character we first meet in a short trek episode where Tilly finds someone smuggled aboard, and they become friends and eat ice cream. Well, this gets referenced in the episode, and everyone's and people seem to know her. No one fucking knows why. And it's like, and I remember at the time people going, "Have we missed the whole episode?" Oh, you've missed 5 minutes on their website. In the UK, we couldn't get originally, by the way. We had to pirate the freaking mini episode.
They were on Netflix for a while.
I did not know that. I think that was a bit after. I know Discovery was on there for a bit, but yeah.
Well, Discovery came out in the outside the US on
Netflix.
Actually, no, it actually came out on Netflix first because Paramount Plus didn't exist when Discovery came out. Discovery was a
So very
network,
true.
and then they decided at like the last 2 seasons to go, hey, guess what, guys? We're going to put this on Paramount Plus. Oh, not to mention that half the world can't get Paramount Plus. And they did that. Remember, I
Well,
complained about that. They did that like a
it
week
was
before it came out.
more insidious than that. So they actually had they actually held off. This is from what I've been told. So we'll add on allegedly here. They waited till the last minute when they could basically make a decision on the contract, the licensing contract that Netflix had. Otherwise, it would just tick over because the show was made and ready.
Yeah.
And it was being held up. And on the last minute, they said no. Now, this caused a problem because, like you say, I don't think they'd realised they were literally only in America and Germany. So they had to get this stuff out, and people were complaining left, right, and centre. And this is where the UK comes in. We are a very important country when it comes to stuff like this. There is a reason why we no longer have to wait 6 months for a movie to be released here from America, because out of everywhere in the world, we were the best pirates of media in the world. You brought out a film in the cinema on Monday, by Friday, a guy would be knocking on your door with it on a cassette tape. Because no one was waiting 6 months.
Exactly. It's why piracy was so rampant over here on our side of the on our side of the water when it was like that.
And this is how important we are up until recently. So a lot of things started to happen where that gap started to recede because they wanted to get money out of the UK. And it did. That's why it ended up being months. And now we have same time releases. But Game of Thrones came out. And at the time, there was still a 6 months gap, at least, between a show being aired in America and it then being in the UK. Game of Thrones was huge. Breaking Bad was huge. Breaking Bad was actually one that was very popular online before it was popular on TV anywhere. And that's why they had to start getting it out to everyone. But Game of Thrones was immense. And in places like the UK and Australia, when it finally did get to TV, no one was watching it on those channels where they couldn't make any money because we had already seen it online. We had downloaded it because we didn't want to wait 6 months to find out what we've already been told by everyone on Twitter for the last 6 months. So all of a sudden, by season 3, I believe it was, the same time it airs in America, it will air in the UK. Huge deal. Because they had to cut through a lot of licensing stuff and a lot of legal stuff and agree to stuff to get that to work. So yeah, we do have a power in this. And they got a bit worried. Paramount got worried. They had an option, and because they were going to be bringing out Paramount Plus within the year in the UK, but if they were going to carry on with Discovery on Netflix, Netflix wanted a contract for the rest of that series. You are not pulling that from us now, midway through after what you've just pulled. They couldn't go back to Netflix. They knew they were going to get fisted. So they went to a really dodgy streaming service called Pluto. Now, to call Pluto a streaming service is loose. What they offered was at 9 o'clock in the evening on a Friday and a Saturday night, PM.
Yeah.
You could watch Star Trek Discovery live. And no other time. You couldn't go back and watch it whenever you wanted. You had to watch it there and then, Friday and Saturday, because if you're a Star Trek fan, you do not have a social life, right?
Except most of us do nowadays.
Except most of us do nowadays.
Because being
they misjudged
the ostracized thing anymore.
Yeah, they misjudged that quite heavily, and had to move through getting it onto. I believe they ended up getting it onto Sky. as part of their package. But yeah, it was a complete joke. And the same thing happened with Strange New Worlds. They really didn't. They really underestimated how good that show was going to perform.
I think the worst, not worst, but was it came to we got first. What is it? 3 or 4 seasons of Discovery on Netflix, and then they went. Yeah. The next season was gonna. The next season, no, sorry, it was first 3 seasons, and then the 4th season was. Oh yeah, this is no longer on Netflix. By the way, we're putting us Paramount Plus, which in the UK wasn't available in the UK for a year, as we already discussed. But then,
Up
if
to a
you
year.
want to watch it, go buy it on Amazon Prime. And I was like,
no. So, and that was the annoying bit
because
because you could only pre-buy the series on Amazon Prime. You couldn't watch the episodes as they were being released.
No, you could watch them as they were released on Prime. Because my friend one of my friends did buy the series and give into it to watch it. And
did you really? I didn't know that because I was a friend of mine did the same, and they were annoyed that they couldn't.
No,
and maybe that was just
the problem was is that they were doing this typical thing of 1 episode a week.
Yeah.
So you were getting each episode as it came out, and usually,
yeah,
I think it was you got on if you had Paramount Plus, that you got it as soon as it came out. Whereas on Prime, it wasn't coming out until basically whatever country you're in reached, like 6 p.m. in your country, basically.
Yeah. The other problem is that they wanted to have. I don't know why this was a want or a need or whatever, but everyone was going to be at least 3 days behind the American airing, even on Paramount Plus UK, Paramount Plus Germany, whatever you're on, you were going to be at least 3 days behind. And at one point, I believe with Star Trek Strange New Worlds, we were a week behind.
Yeah, they didn't really think this through when they were doing this, because
Same thing happened with Doctor Who when they released the first two episodes. The first 2 episodes were released a week before on Disney Plus than they were in the UK. So all of a sudden, all the American sites that do reviews for this stuff, instead of having to wait for our airing to do their review, they had a week extra.
Doctor Who was the other way around.
No, I actually watched the first 2 episodes in America, whilst only the first episode was available for you guys.
In the UK, the first 2 episodes came out the same day.
That's right. Then no, so then they got an episode a week earlier then, and we got 2 episodes. Either way, they got an episode earlier than us. Because I remember watching it, because I was pissed off about it, but I ended up being in America during that episode, so I was like, actually, I'm okay. But to be fair, this does kind of take the piss. I know it did end up catching up, so that must be how it caught up.
No, we got episodes 1 and 2. Episodes 1 and 2 were only on Disney Plus on the first day of launch. I know this from using IP stuff to change which IP address I'm on. I have VPNs.
Yeah. But I'm sure they had an episode earlier than this for at least a week. I'm sure they did.
Nope, it's just that the only way to watch it in the US is in Disney Plus. Whereas we in
the
UK, it was that us in the UK got it at midnight. We got it midnight on the Friday. Whereas the rest of the world was getting it, I believe, in the morning on their time zone.
Disney does have a preferential deal on it. I'm going to look.
I'm pretty sure they didn't.
Well, we'll keep talking and I'll look.
But
yeah, one of the other things in The Flash that I really did love, and this was something that the movies could not replicate with a budget 15 times more than the episode that it was in, King Shark. King Shark and Gorilla Grodd, absolutely perfect in the Flash TV series. You see them in the movies.
Hey, you don't insult my King Shark boy in the movies. I like the King Shark in the movies. He may not look as awesome, but he's hilarious. He's the funniest character in that
I
film.
will I will give the argument that they are two different versions of King Shark. One of them is the metahuman version of King Shark. One of them is the actual shark person from Atlantis. So yes, there is a difference, but if you put all three of the main ones we've seen, The Flash, Harley Quinn, and the one from Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad one is going last because he looked more cartoonish than the one from Harley Quinn. But the Gorilla Grodd King Shark fight.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Oh,
That was brilliant.
So a friend of mine is like me, is a massive Godzilla fan, massive King Kong fan, massive kaiju fan. We love it all when the city's being destroyed by big monsters. And we had been watching The Flash. He likes The Flash. And he doesn't have the internet, so I was taking the episodes and he was watching them there. And I was obviously a couple of episodes ahead of him. And I knew this episode was coming up. And he's a big fan of certain things. I was like, your show's starting within the next hour. It was like, only one. It's on in about 40 minutes. So I was like, well, this is going to be 50 minutes long. I'm telling you now, you're not going to want to stop watching once it starts. He was like, no, my thing goes on whenever it goes on. I was like, all right, we put it on. He was like, is there a second part to this episode? I was like, if I say yes, are you going to carry on watching? It's like, yeah, when there's not a second part of this episode. I'm not going to talk to you with it.
It is a good episode, Gorilla Grodd. And the whole thing is them trying to turn him back, and he willingly gives himself, turns himself back into a.
Yeah. But it's like we've had you get multiple versions of that King Shark as well at the series because how they do it.
The fact that King Shark also isn't the King Shark that should have been spawned on his world. It's a different King Shark.
Yeah.
Because he was brought from Grodd. The fact is, the funniest part is in the actual show when he first pops up, he pops up for like a second. You know what I mean? At the end of an episode, and then gets shot by Harrison. That's what's kind of funny when he first pops up. He only pops up for like a few seconds and gets shot by Harrison. By Wells. It's like also all the Wells are hilarious, but Nash is absolutely Nash being the pariah.
Yes.
It's so funny. Nash is like why are all of you guys so overconfident? Seriously.
Yeah. The only one that wasn't was the sweetest Wells.
Oh, you mean Sherlock?
No, not Sherlock. No. Harry.
The thing is, I do love the fact that Cisco even admits we're going to hate each other for a while, then we'll get along, and then we'll become best friends. Every time, even to Nash. That's what he literally says to Nash when they first find Nash.
Yeah, and Nash just looks at her. He's like, no.
Just like, I love you. Just like every Wells at the beginning. No, not going to become friends. No,
I did like the fact that they made the Wells, one of the Wells is a pariah, because they do seem to be a universal constant.
Mm-hmm. That actor though, I forgot. I can't remember his name. He is so good. Like
yes, I bloody hell, I've heard it. Tom Cavanagh.
Yeah, the dude can play so many different roles. Like he's got a range because he makes.
So I know in America this is a joke because of it was kind of a joke show. I remember seeing this when it got released in the UK. Was it called Stucky Bowl? I can't remember now. But he played a lawyer that owned a bowling alley for some weird reason. And he did all this stuff out of this bowling alley. And in America, the people that know him that know the show take the piss out of him for it. But he was a good actor in that. But you could see a lot of what he was doing in Harry Wells, in the Welleses.
Oh yeah, you can. It's just brilliant. He's so good at that as that character. He's like, I loved Sherlock as well because he's just like it's Sherlock. Someday people, do you think people ever be able to get it right?
Sherlock,
Nope. Just, nope.
Sherlock, Sherlock.
Or and then when Ralph finally says it, Sherlock, he goes Sherlock. He's just like yes. He admits it. He admits his fucking name's been Sherlock this entire time.
He just likes winding people up. That is, I've got to say, we have to be careful how we talk about Ralph Dibny because of the bloody actor. I really liked how he portrayed um, Ralph Dibny. I do like Ralph Dibny. I love to see Dearborn. They are a wonder couple in DC. One of my favourite ever stories heavily involves those two,
Mm.
which is Identity Crisis. Well worth reading. Anyone, I will always sing the praises of Identity Crisis. Brad Meltzer is awesome as a writer. But yeah, unfortunately, the actor said some shit.
Did he go crazy?
No, he made some racist comments when he was younger, on Twitter and never deleted them.
Well, on the
And
internet, it
it
wouldn't
was
say
right
anything.
in
It's
the
always on
middle.
the internet. But if he's grown as a person since then, as far as I'm concerned,
I think that should have been the thing, and I think his apology should have been kind of, yeah, I think a lot of that should have been considered. But yeah, no, apparently a couple of the cast of The Flash were not happy with this outcome, and yeah, he was gone very unceremoniously. Um, uh, Whether it's right or wrong is kind of here nor there. Yeah, especially if you're an actor, you're planning on being in the eye, scrub your digital profiles and start again before
the problem
anyone
with that
knows.
as well is that unfortunately, the internet has a thing called the Wayback Machine. Nothing on the internet was ever deleted.
To an extent, it has to know where to record and when. It doesn't fully record everything. Um, I mean, if
Not
you're a
many people
nobody,
use it,
you're not there. Um,
but I don't have Twitter, so Twitter never has.
yeah.
This we should technically have a Twitter to this YouTube channel, but we don't because I could just never bothered to make one.
So we'll point that. But you should go Instagram. But
I
yeah, no, it's
don't have one for anything. I just don't.
yeah,
There's no
so
point. I'm not going to use it.
yeah, it's true. But yeah, so as a whole, the Arrowverse is fantastic. But for me, I know there are many fans of the Arrow, rightly so. Um, uh, it was the originator of this universe. And did so much cool stuff over there. Wasn't my favorite, but that's me. I preferred Flash. I've always preferred Flash out of the DC heroes. Um, and it was a really good show. It didn't give us anything spectacular from the old stories. Don't get me wrong, but the stories and characters that it adapted from Rebirth um, was pretty good. I mean, I don't think
I
anyone would have thought doing a blood work without Rebirth.
I quite will say, probably unpopular opinion. I actually like all the characterizations of the characters in Titans, despite what everyone complains about with Coriander.
Uh, no, I think you're right. Actually, no, I'll go with you on that.
Because I
Whenever I
genuinely
watch Titans,
fuck, that's a snap ball.
I mean, here's the thing with me. Uh, I watched Titans with a group of friends that were massive Young Justice fans. and Teen Titan fans um, back in the day. Uh, Not any of the Teen Titan Go stuff. Proper Teen Titans.
Teen Titan
And
Go,
so
though, a lot of
when
people complain
Titans,
about Teen Titan Go that watched Teen Titans growing up, and I'm just like, yeah, it's not as good as the original, but it's also not aimed at us. It's aimed at a new generation, and it's in the style
yeah,
that the newer generation sort of shows are done in. So it's aimed at them, not us.
it's a very cheap animation style that works on movement of color and noise.
Yeah.
They tried to do it with what was funny is it kind of works with DC characters because DC and Marvel characters because you can then sell that to a very young audience. When they tried it, funny enough, with Thundercats Raw,
Mm.
that's when they found out they're only selling that 40-year-old men, and no one wants bouncy cartoon stupidness. Whereas, like, no. You've now failed twice with Thundercats. None of us want Thundercats anymore. Do not bother. Right?
Mm.
You brought us out that weird show, then you brought out this even weirder show.
You
We
can't
don't
just.
want any more.
We
Just
don't want the
every so often,
Thundercats.
just
Just
give
leave it
us a
alone.
toy. Yeah, let it die. Just every so often, give us a toy. Right?
I'm just sitting here watching two giant robots fight. That's all I'm doing.
Best thing to do. Um, yeah.
Bless you.
Uh, but so yeah, we put Titans on, and they were all excited. And one of the first things one of my friends said um, was, "Why is Starfire a hooker?" And I was like, "That is a good point."
But also, it's also to me, it's like the whole point in the original is that because the original ones are all teens, these Titans are all adults, and it's
I
very.
get it.
But it's like, but to me, it was always it's like it's Starfire has no idea what human culture's like. She probably just picked the first
But
clothes she could find.
one, I do get it, and also the character is very sexually open anyway, and very free, or just open in every aspect, emotionally open in every aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I get all that shit. Um, but they seemed to just make her wildly crazy looking in the outfits sense,
Mm-hmm.
and then just remove everything that was the character. I mean, and weirdly enough, I thought the actress did really well, and one of the things I was quite happy with, and I know this is a stupid thing to be happy with, uh, is that there was a lot of shit talking originally about the fact that this was a large black actress playing Starfire, um, and which massive ton of people then turned around and went, "Do you? Is your biggest offence here that you don't find her attractive, or that she's black?" And all of a sudden, a lot of that stuff shut down because you couldn't say, "Oh, I only wanted a perv on the character." Can't say, "No, I'm a racist." Oh,
Oh yeah, it's.
it quotes it.
Sorry, I saw something that made
Anyway,
me weird. Made I never saw any of this with any of the marketing for this film. Having now watched it, right? The Little Mermaid. You know the new one, the remake, the live
yeah,
action remake. Right? Apparently, from some weird internet or forum, like there's people going, "Oh yeah, Disney's always been pushing diversity, diversity, equality, and inclusion stuff." Like you saw it in the marketing for the Little Mermaid, and I'm like, did we? Because I don't remember them at all pointing out the character's color
oh,
in that film's
oh, no,
marketing.
no, 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 no. There was no. To be fair, on this one, I will say there was a lot. It got a massive, massive backlash from quite a few different groups saying this isn't kind of right. Um,
We
yeah, no, it was an unfortunate move. Um, that sort of flooded into what is happening with Snow White. Um, it's kind of a Disney-wide problem at the moment. Um,
Well, because of who's
in
back
which
at Disney is the guy that actually actively hates DEI apparently.
Well, it's not so much that it's people involved in the production telling people who their films aren't for, um, and that doesn't help anyone. Um, my my opinion on it is art should be art. I'm not really a fan of the live action remakes because for the most part they're lousy, with a few exceptions.
To be fair,
I
for me,
personally
I
think
just like they're not aimed at me.
personally think the Jungle Book is a beautiful film.
To be fair,
Um,
I go back. I've watched all the original, like the animated ones, and I'm like, they're not actually as good as I remember them being when I was a kid. I feel like all of those sort of movies have always been kind of a bit shit. They're just we remember the animated ones because the style is really nice. We
no,
remember them
no,
with
no, no.
nostalgia a lot of the time.
So no, so yes and no. It depends how what you're referring to here as films. So we have to be very careful. If you're talking about Disney's live action offerings early on,
We,
yes, they had a massive, massive problem. They made some beautiful looking films with no substance. They made some good story films with no looks. That's why they actually brought out a different publishing line for live action films in the early days. There's a whole history to that. But if you're talking about their animations, um, I know there is a couple of years age difference between us. But
we.
even the stuff that they were doing in the 50s was comparable, and if not better, than the stuff we were still seeing in the 80s,
Ouch.
um,
Well, I'm
in
not saying the
animation
style. I'm
stars.
saying that stylized. The style was is the thing that's good about their films. I'm on about in terms of the acting and the plot for a lot of those animated films is
Once again, yeah,
is the thing that
yeah,
for
but
me just is nostalgia for me because I watch them now as a like rewatch now as an adult, with my kid, and it's to me,
yes,
I look at them going, yeah, these are a lot like the animation's amazing and still holds up. It's the acting to me goes I can see why I love these as a kid, but I can also see why as an adult I would not want to watch these as much, which is probably
yes.
an unpopular opinion, and a lot of people disagree with me, but it's a thing with.
No, but there is reasons for this. I mean, as adults, as humans, we grow up to understand things slightly differently. We give a different eye to things. So a great example for someone like me who's a big fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated series, the original
Mm-hmm.
Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles UK, Ninja Turtles in America, because we were let's call them heroes. Uh, and when you watch those as a kid, you don't notice anything other than a great story and adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Get a movie on cassette tape and it'd be a whole amazingly new thing that like, wow, this is great. You watch those as adults, you'll see one in the series, you'll start to notice I've seen all these animation scenes before because they're reusing old ones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the movies you got on cassette tapes were just the episodes cut up and then glued together to make a slightly different story. Um, uh, so as a kid, you don't notice this. As an adult, we do notice that sound quality isn't right. We become a lot more critical to quality, and also as we get older, we see better things. Um, I mean, if you watch the CGI movie from today with a budget of $100 million, it's gonna look okay. It's gonna look good. You know, you get someone to do it right, it'll be fine. You do the same thing with a CGI movie from
Mm-hmm.
the early 2000s, you're gonna get with that money, yeah, well, not with that money, with enough money to bankrupt one of the biggest video game companies in the world, you can make Final Fantasy Spirits Within. Looks
Spirits within.
beautiful, good story, no soul whatsoever. And I love that
Also,
film, but
also,
there is no soul to it.
also, Uncanny Valley.
Okay.
Just
Yeah, that's what I
Uncanny
mean.
Valley everywhere. Let's be
That's
honest.
what I mean. That's kind of what I mean here. I mean, you look at it. There's nothing behind the eyes, um,
It makes you feel
but they
uneasy.
look real. You see, you see the cloth and their hair move perfectly with the wind, but there's no gravity when they walk. Um, it's So yeah, I mean, so that's kind of what I'm saying here. As you notice things differently as you get older, you're become accustomed to better things as you get older. So that's why when you look at things with nostalgia, and especially things you love, you kind of do have to keep that element of it in. There's very few things that fully hold up to that old history.
My God,
Any true Star Wars fan or Star Trek fan will tell you exactly the same. Those times as a kid are not the times you get as an adult. You may get some of those feelings back, but it's not the same.
run. I'm going to die.
Um,
Don't mind me.
but yeah,
Casually
you
running away
point
from
stuff out. I
a
mean,
giant
my
bear.
favourite thing to point out now is like, especially if you watch, I've got a couple of the cassette tapes, the original tapes of Star Wars before they were touched up by Lucas and destroyed with the special editions. It's always fun to watch a
I do love
TIE
the
fighter
Star Wars
fly
fan
past.
dichotomy of Star Wars fans hate that Lucas went back and changed his own films. We just hate that he changed his own films. I find that hilarious.
Oh, no, I don't hate that he changed his own films. Don't get me wrong. I hate what happened to all the original copies that were left real. He went around and borrowed them from collectors and institutions like the British Film Institute,
Mm-hmm.
and then each and every one, just by pure coincidence, not by any malice, were accidentally destroyed whilst they were being used by LucasArts, and they sent everyone back a version of the special edition because he's trying to wipe out the original completely. So that's why I don't like the special editions. It's a nasty thing going on. It's an actual thing going on. It's even taken away copies from the British Film Institute. It's not right. Um, yeah, and also um, they removed proper Darth Vader from the end of uh, the third film and gave us Hayden Patterson. And they got rid of Alec Guinness and gave us
Hayden.
Alec Guinness. They got rid of Alec Guinness, and they got rid of all the good ones and gave us a silly CGI Muppet. Um, the guy from Train Spotting, and the guy that no one liked as Darth Vader for 20 years. Um,
Hayden
I mean,
Christensen.
I said he's Hayden Christensen, Hayden Patterson. That's the
Hayden
other one.
Patterson's is a woman.
He's a woman.
She's
Look,
from Heroes.
I don't see gender.
She's the Heroes
I,
actress.
I, I don't see gender. Okay, I just see names and remember parts of them. Um,
She's an awesome actress though.
yeah,
The stuff that I've seen her in since Heroes, she's just like she just gets better and better.
yeah. I've seen her in one or two things. I saw her in a film right after she did Heroes. I can't remember what it was, and she was bloody good in that. Died in it, but very good.
It's like the girl that played Claire in Supernatural. I've seen her now in a few things after Supernatural, including the MCU, because they got her to replace, the Cassie Lang actor.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, she's really good. Like, you got a really good actress to play this character, and I'm like, yeah. The problem is, I'm still just seeing Claire from Supernatural in my head. That's all I can see. Where's I'm
Yeah,
looking
I
for
know.
Dean and Sam.
I'm trying to remember the actress's name. Because it is a. Oh, where was she? I could easily just message someone right now and find out. Uh, all cast and crew is what I want.
For who?
Oh, it's an actress in, and there's not a picture of that balls. She's an actress in The 100, and she plays one of the leaders. But
I do find it funny that
um,
Cassie Lang has been played by 3 different actresses now, by the way.
Yeah, because of the time jumps.
Yeah.
Because at one point wasn't she played by? Oh no, I'm thinking of one of Arrow's daughters. Hawkeye's daughters was played by the director's daughter. Uh,
No, sorry. She's been played by Catherine Newton. Now, Catherine Newton's played her, in Ant-Man 3. Emma Thurman played her in Avengers Endgame. And then Abby Ryder Fortson played her in Ant-Man. She's in Freaky, Abigail, Lisa Frankenstein, Pikachu, Pokemon Detective Pikachu. She's a good actress.
ah, well, that's funny. It's not the actress I was looking for, but weirdly enough, same thing. Uh, so there was this actress, and I will at some point find her. She was in an Australian TV soap called Neighbours uh, in the very early 2000s. And all of a sudden, in the last decade or so,
Mm-hmm.
she seemed to have just like started popping up in all these science fiction things um, in America on American TV. I shit you not, this woman has not aged a day.
She's a vampire, clearly.
I mean, I
It's like Keanu
mean,
Reeves. He's a vampire, clearly. Keanu Reeves, man, is the
but
most
when
humble man on earth, and I will not have anything bad ever said against him. Because he's never done a bad thing, I don't think.
but ironically, there is another actress in the 100 and Neighbours who is the main actress in the 100 called Elizabeth Taylor, and she's the only one I can find at the moment. And I was like, oh, what other show was she in? I can narrow her down to.
But yeah, in the Flash, like season 1, we fight. As I was like, season 1 is Reverse Flash. Season 2 is Zoom. Season 3 is a better Savitar than whatever the hell that was in the Flash film.
Well, that one in the Flash film is meant to be a weird alternate Barry affected by time thought it was just rubbish, wasn't it?
It was essentially Savitar, but without being Savitar. That's what was so bad about it.
I mean, there was so little, in my opinion, to do with the Flash in that film other than the names.
Other than name, I'm sorry, but by the way, if you take the Flash out of that film, so you get a better movie.
Yeah.
You also, by the way, after Ezra creates Flashpoint in that universe, where his parents are alive and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And then we get 2 Barrys instead of what happens normally, where it's just Barry ends up in that world and has to then choose between the memories of that world or, his. You know what I mean? That's the other bit that I genuinely disliked. The fact that they put 2 Ezras in it. Like, no,
there's no need. There was no need for any film. Sorry, the actress's name is H.M. Latchman. She's been in loads of stuff like Jurassic World and King of the Planet of the Apes. And but like I say, this woman has not aged a day in 25 years. I'm jealous.
Wow. You too can become an ageless vampire like her.
I would happily do it, but a couple of years ago, I wouldn't. Yeah. But anyway, um, but then it comes to the point where you he hasn't learned his lesson by the end of the film.
No, he
So
hasn't.
when you find out he fixed everything and it's got but like, he's been told there is always going to be changes. You can't fully fix it. There's always going to be these cracks. Like every one of them's been taught in a fucking Flash film or show, and he finds out, oh, this isn't my Batman.
Mm-hmm.
He then does it. The after scene credit is him talking to Aquaman, saying, "Oh yeah, I carried on going." And at one point, there was a dog version of you. What was the point of the film, man? What follow-on ever going to be? Because they still had hopes that there might be.
I know, right?
I was like, oh god.
It's like the only
It
good thing
was
about
just
the movie, honestly, was both George Clooney, Michael Keaton, and I forget her name, but the one who played Supergirl.
Supergirl was awesome. I love that reveal.
I
Because
love that
at that
twist.
point, we'd already known. At this point, we already known we weren't going to get Henry Cavill back, but we knew Supergirl was in it. So when they started doing the whole going through the facility like they do it in Flashpoint,
Yeah, where Superman got captured instead of landing with the Kents, he got turned into basically
yeah,
a science experiment instead.
I knew we were going to get it, but I thought it was exciting the way that they showed that they had actually killed the first one that came through, which was Baby Shark,
Mm-hmm.
and the dog.
Crypto.
But they managed to keep the second one alive because it was older. Loved it.
Brilliant. It was a good way. It was a good reveal as well. Then it was Supergirl it was also a good reveal that it was Supergirl that was the one that was alive and trapped, and not Clark.
Once again, I don't, and this is something I've said before. This shows just how much Warner Brothers do not care about what their fantastic animated division is doing, because they spent nearly $1 billion on a film that they released with some of the worst CGI I've seen over the Batwoman film that was finished and apparently better, that they gave to the taxman. All the while, sitting in their catalogue is the Flashpoint Paradox animated movie, which is fucking awesome.
The Flashpoint movie is amazing, especially with Zoom, where the reveal of the sequel one that follows on after it, where someone asks Zoom where Zoom reappears, and it's
I'm not the bad guy, Barry. You're the bad guy here. All this is because you wanted to see your mum.
But it's the
I'm not
bad guys going, so how did you survive that? And then Zoom just casually revealing, I didn't. I'm just vibrating so fast that I've basically trapped my life force in my moment of death. Basically. That reveal was...
Oh, no, just everything about it. Yeah. I mean, that would have been a blockbuster movie if they brought that out of the cinema and just had some guts to let us watch an animated film at the cinema. As adults. Yeah.
Wow. Down I go.
But yeah, it's I know it gets it. I mean, I was bought it. I refused to see it at the cinema. I even refused to pirate it.
I watched it
a friend
at the
literally
cinema only because it was movie day and I didn't get to pick the movie.
Fair enough.
Movie,
but no, I was.
It was like
I was gifted it.
We'll give it a try.
So I did watch it.
I will admit, I enjoyed the film, but I didn't enjoy it for the bits that I wanted to enjoy it for, if that makes sense.
I enjoyed the bits that they decided that I was going to enjoy. Oh, Batman.
Mm-hmm. The bits I enjoyed was Michael Keaton and George Clooney and Kara and Zod. Even though he was a pointless villain, seeing Zod again, thing is Zod.
But here's the thing: one of the things that I knew was going to be in it because it was publicised. Um, one of the things I would have paid to see was the Nicolas Cage scene because they were so big on the fact that they brought him in, they got him his costume back, like they made him his actual costume and they filmed him fighting the spider. And then when you actually get that scene,
Mm-hmm.
and even Nicolas Cage come out and said this, nothing that you saw there was what he filmed. Everything they did there was CGI and done later. So what was the point of bringing him in? What was the point of the publicity?
To get his face, that was it.
Yeah, but even so, what was the point of all the publicity? Just say we're going to have him in it. But instead, they gave us a small clip of something that was less than what they filmed.
Mm-hmm.
How much money was wasted?
I know.
No one in Christopher Reeve's family was happy about his appearance in that film. And no one in George Reeve's family were happy about his appearance in that film. The role literally killed him. So yeah,
Oh yeah,
very confused.
it's one of those things. It's just like it was a mess to begin with. Like seeing all the different like universes. The worst bit I think about the different universes part though was why the hell did they not use that as an opportunity to put a little cameo of Grant Gustin in, even if Grant Gustin's the CW, the Arrowverse version. Just like a little.
Here's the thing.
But like, why did you not do that? That's like a missed
Grant
opportunity.
Gustin has said it was. Grant Gustin has said, and so has I think it's Mark Guggenheim. Have said that because once again there were so many problems with the Flash movie, but once that cameo was done, they had said we'll be happily make ourselves available for whatever. They were never asked. Not like that other Flash that they could have had the whole time. It'd be something very interesting and actually be that Flash. Because here's the thing. Do you know why that cameo in the Flash TV series is important to all of the DCU films?
Why?
Because that is when Barry Allen from the DCU films finds out his character's name is the Flash.
What? Oh yeah, I actually didn't even realise that in the film that he doesn't know his name's the Flash.
But why not have that? If that's such a crucial moment, why not repeat that in the show?
Mm-hmm. Would you repeat that in the film?
I mean, repeat that in the film. Yeah, no, it's just crazy.
Oh yeah, it's just one of them things. It's just there's so much wrong with that film, as we both said. Like
could you imagine having a better actor playing the Flash in the Flash film that isn't the actor that you have been dragging through the film for nearly a decade? Here's the fun fact. Do you know what date the Flash film was announced as being put into production?
When?
The same day Flash episode 1 aired on TV.
So basically, they did the whole. We're going to make a movie of this, but they're not going to tell you that we're going to completely do a different actor and do all this other stuff. It's because, it's like I say, it goes into our discussion from before that we were having before the episode. That we think we can resurrect that discussion, have a full discussion where.
I'll put no. So this is weirdly one of the times when they were actually lenient on this, because of what was going on. They'd already sort of put the Arrowverse into effect 2 years previously. and Barry Allen, as this was already going ahead. But
Mm-hmm.
there was a reason why they couldn't do it. Couldn't change anything here. But yeah, the Ezra Miller The Flash movie was announced when that episode came out. It went through such production hell with multiple writers and directors walking off saying we can't work with a certain actor on this film.
Would that actually be having to be
That
Ezra fucking Miller?
it didn't get released until a year after The Flash had ended TV series, and The Flash had to miss a year because of COVID. That is ridiculous. They managed to bring out nearly 20 episodes a season for 9 years
Mm-hmm.
before we could get an unfinished film that they wanted me to spend 20 quid on. Madness. Absolute madness. I mean, I've got my own issues with that whole era of films. I have always been upset for a long, long time now. Before Snyder, to be fair,
Oh,
of the
I'm
quality
a
of
firm
DC
person that thinks
movies.
Snyder was not as good as people seem to go. There's all these people trying to peddle that James Gunn's Superman's going to be shit because they keep posting pictures of it, of the production.
James Gunn, like Russell T Davis, James Gunn has never given me reason to doubt what his vision's going to be,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm happily going to give him the benefit of the doubt until that point.
Oh no, they're going. Oh, it's going to be terrible because like they were putting out the costume when the costume for Superman, the new one. It's
Yeah.
his classic old school costume where he's got the boxes on the front, where he's got the the briefs and stuff.
Yeah.
It's that old
So
style, golden age Superman, and I'm like, I'm all for this.
I
Do the classic
so
costumes, in my opinion.
I am. This is one of the realms of the internet I'm very much soaked up in, and this is a big problem, and it's not for what you might think. So this thing that a lot of people refer to as a Snyder cult,
Mm-hmm.
most of it is, as I've mentioned before, with a lot of trolling. This is a very small number of actual people that love to keep this restore the Snyderverse is their clarion call.
Oh, yeah.
It's their
Oh no,
no
it's
one
more
likes,
that
no one
because
cares.
now there's like actual, there's sort of paid
So nearly,
a few Snyderverse fans now that are like just going the Gunverse is gonna be terrible, and this is why bring back Snyderverse is gonna grow in traction.
so once
It's
again,
never been growing in traction, mate.
so what you're seeing is, what you said. I mean, seriously, you're getting one person that has got 100 botted accounts, and you're seeing, like, especially if you're a big fan of this of comic book stuff and you're on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
you're seeing so many AI generated groups and accounts coming up, and it's always restore the Snyderverse, this, all about James Gunn being terrible
It's
now.
also Facebook likes
Before
to show
then,
you things that it knows you don't agree with because it knows
yeah,
they'll get you to engage. It's a big problem with Facebook.
yeah. I mean, that's why you just have to stick the see less thing and delete, but instead of actually interacting.
Oh, that's why I've
But
disabled a lot of them. I'm like, I can't be arsed looking at this anymore. I don't care.
very true, very true.
It's just like
But
when
yeah,
I see
no,
them, I'm like, I read the the post, and I'm like, this what you just said makes no sense. It's like, yeah, this is why
and a lot of these,
thing. And I'm like, it's
a
not
lot,
a thing. It's not been a thing.
well, yeah. So a lot of these comments as well are AI generated comments. Weirdly enough, James DeFranco's had a big problem. A lot of YouTubers are having a problem with this on their chats. But one in particular, which he pointed out was quite funny, after he did a video about chats being taken over by bots, and just sending spam messages, was one had actually copied and pasted a couple of people's messages together to create a new message, and that message said, "Isn't it terrible about how all these bots are automating other people's messages to make their own?" It's like, this is hilarious. Like, literally, if you there is ways of finding out, this is what came up with, and it was very pathetic to the situation. So So yeah, so a lot of this hate about James Gunn stuff, and a lot of this Snyder cultist stuff isn't real people. It's just some guy that's a start on a butt farm, and it will just keep pumping out, and they're laughing and laughing
Oh
and
yeah.
laughing every time
The
people
other stuff
interact.
is it's people that know they can get clicks and views on YouTube by making videos about this
Yes,
stuff.
it is. It's also to help. Yes, once again, there's that as well. You know, people
But I just
rage
find it funny
click
with like they're
to
putting out
just be angry.
these posts are like, oh, it looks terrible, and I'm like, that's because they've not added the CGI or any of the stuff that you add post production. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure Marvel films look absolutely terrible prior to being actually
So
on screen. Every film on screen
here's
does.
one of my favourite things about how they're having a go at how these bots are having a go at James Gunn's vision of all this at the moment, and it's to do with the Green Lantern costumes and their so how shit they look, and like some of the Superman costumes, how shit they look.
Ours was
Now,
his. I remember the CGI Green Lantern costume that poor Mr. Reynolds had
I'm
to
not even
wear.
going to go there with that. I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to compare apples with apples here because this is what the Snyderverse don't seem to understand. You can compare directly stuff from at this moment in time, it's stuff from him, stuff from Snyder. Look at what they had to do to the Flash's costume, to uh, Cyborg's costume, to Aquaman's costume, because all those lovely bits that you see on their costumes
Mm-hmm.
were not there. They were added after. There's very little you can actually add to a practical costume. A big secret here. There's a big chunk of filming where do you know what Superman doesn't have? Cape. You know why? A cape is a bitch for continuity.
Yep.
Um, so with those things spoiled,
Oh yeah,
could it
it's
be possible that these things don't look quite right because they haven't added the artifacts? Another great one is to look at these things. I know because this is always fun to add Marvel to the mix. With people complaining about Snyder because they think Snyder's better than everything Marvel ever did as well. Um, Iron Man's costume and Spider Man's costume is a black skin tight suit with spots on it.
mm-hmm.
They don't wear armor. Funny enough,
I know, right?
it's too unwieldy. So yeah,
Of course,
uh,
because there's no way you could wear that sort of costume. That's the problem. That's the thing.
yeah.
It's an impractical
So
costume to make that suit.
and they're slagging off the fact that the way Nathan Fillion looks as Guy Gardner because they think he looks goofy and stupid. And I'm thinking, have any of you looked at Guy Gardner? He looks goofy and stupid.
I'm happy that the thing is I like is because James seems to be doing with his version. He wants to do the classic Golden Age costumes from what I like, and I like that sort of stuff. It's why it's one of the things that Marvel Cinematic Universe uses the Ultimate Marvel Universe as its template. You can tell it does by all the storyline changes, are the Ultimate versions of those storyline changes. A lot of the time, other than the one to make Tony the creator of Ultron, and I understand why they did that. Is because they didn't want to tarnish a movie before it came out by having one of the major characters in that film be the creator of Ultron.
Yes, and also at that point in time as well, they had also gone through since this universe was in play. I do believe both Hank Pym wasn't a man at the time, or even around,
Well, there was
and
they retroactively added him in. Remember in the continuity, because remember he was apparently a
I
hero
mean,
during World War II in that universe.
no, I mean in the comic book runs at that time when they rebrought Ultron back with Tony, because the original it's Hank Pym and Wonder Man that create.
That point in the comics was post Rage of Ultron comics where Hank sacrifices himself to Ultron, and they become.
No, so what I'm saying is the modernized version of it when they redid it and they sort of it was very similar to the movies,
Mm-hmm.
or what would be in the movies. is mostly because the actual two main characters that were more responsible for Ultron in the original stories
Hmm.
um, weren't actually in play in the DC in the Marvel comic universe at that time. So like if they wanted to redo Ultron, they can't all of a sudden, if they wanted to, for some reason, do it like the original story in some weird way. You'd be bringing back a dead character and a character that's not been in canon for a long time, um, and would bring back all its own can of worms to do with Wanda, to do with uh,
Hornet.
Reaper, and all that sort of stuff. Because that's the other side of it. During the West Coast Avengers stuff, where it was Wanda, Vision, and Wonder Man. Um, Originally, it was Wonder Man and Wonder Woman were together. They were the couple. And then once Vision comes into it, who has the mind of Wonder Man, he part Wonder Man, part Hank Pym. He's like, well, I'm also in love with Wanda because I've got those memories, right? People love the Wonder Vision
The thing about Hank Pym is
relationship.
he's a character that has bipolar disorder, and he's also a character that,
Oh yes,
which is the
Hank
thing
Pym
I will
is
say.
fantastic.
This is a thing that I don't know enough about DC to say DC doesn't do it. But it's a thing I like about a lot of Marvel characters is that Marvel characters do have really, a lot of their characters have really like a lot of them struggle with stuff that normal people struggle with as well. If you know what I mean. Like,
Around about the 70s, 80s, yes. Up until around about then, yeah.
like
The moderner characters, less so much.
apart from certain ones, it's the mainline comics are the ones that don't. There are a lot of the characters that aren't in their mainline comic characters still deal with like day-to-day normal stuff in the comics. I've noticed.
So weirdly enough, this is a nice little Easter egg for comic book fans, and this is something that's quite well known, but not well known. Up until around about the late 70s, early 80s, Marvel's history of actual events, but big events, mirrored ours completely. So Vietnam War, World War Two, World War One, assassination of JFK, moon landings, boom, 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 boom. Those things match. So even when a president come in real life in America, it gets mentioned in a comic book. It then changed in which they made there is a reason for it, and I can't remember what it is off the back of my head right now, top of my head right now. But yeah, they diverged from actual real history in their universe into their own. Around about then, that's when you start getting away from also characters that have more realistic demons.
Apart from Peter Parker, who constantly has realistic shit go wrong for him.
Well, once again, he's part of those characters that were a part of the old school. So, I mean, Tony Stark's alcoholism stayed with him.
Mm-hmm.
Hank Pym's bipolar disorder and substance abuse stayed with him, along with his spousal abuse and things like. These are all still things that stay with that character.
There's stuff that are also that are meant to make. The reason they stay is because they're stuff that if we just get rid of them.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is so like other characters that so everything before that timing event, those older characters, those old bugbears they have, those old niches and issues that they have, those demons on their shoulder, they all they did carry on, but characters after that, yes, some of them there'd be a drug story, there'd be some sort of story along those lines, would never really stay with the character. Once there was a universe reset, it wouldn't be a thing, or they would have got over it, or it would have been a temporary measure. It never became part of core character. Yeah, it's like if they made Iron Man, like for instance, Riri Williams, for example. They're never going to do a storyline in which she's going to be a drug addict, and then from then on, the next 20 years, like if ever she's in an infirmary, she's going to say, "No, I can't have any painkillers." It's whereas with you get like someone will hand him a drink and it's a non-alcoholic drink. Him. I love him. I love the whole Yellow Jacket run, and how that character changed.
Oh yeah, well, it's the thing about those that a lot of a lot of things with Marvel characters, that a lot of Marvel characters have really like a lot of them, even now a lot of them still have big character flaws because it's meant to be. It's I think it's one of the things that like Jack, Stan, and the original like sort of creators at Marvel. Basically, what it is that they wanted heroes that people could relate to rather than being away from like being the larger than life ones sometimes.
They saw it that a lot of their characters didn't come from a normal background. Were given something special or were trained to be something special. There's very few like Thor's for Don Blake back in the day, where it was just given to them, or even mutants. I mean, that came a lot later. You were born with all the others. You kind of anyone
Funny
could.
in the Marvel universe. Okay,
Mhm.
Hi, I'm a person who gained my powers by this accident. Oh yeah, you're cool. How did you get your powers? I was born with them. Fuck off. Just,
Go away, you dirty, dirty, filthy mudblood. Yeah, it's
yeah,
so funny.
it's such a funny thing in Marvel. It's like Captain America and all these other heroes are like accepted because they got their powers through accident or some random circumstance. How did you get your powers, Cyclops? I was born with them. Go die. Just like it's the weirdest thing. It's one of those funny little things I find about Marvel where it's mutants are hated because they were born. Basically, they're born with the past. But I get the slight reason because it's the idea that they're untrained. You have someone who's untrained whose power literally is they could cause nuclear explosions. That's just
I can't remember. I can't
or
remember who
have
the character
Nitro,
was.
who is you could have a Nitro. I don't know if Nitro got his power. It was a mutant or if he got his powers from.
No, Nitro. Well, it depends where you go with this. There's a bit of a retcon on this, depending on if you bring this into your own, I guess. But Nitro is a mutant, and
You're
it was
lagging a
a
minute,
mutant
Jax, by the way.
issue. Hello, am I back?
You're back. What were you saying about Nitro?
I said Nitro is a mutant, and he was as everything stands originally, he was just doing evil shit.
Yeah, because he's the reason
But
we got. He is, if I remember correctly, Nitro is the reason we had the first Civil War because of what he did to that
yes,
town.
yes and no. Once again, this is the great
Well, no,
part
it's
about
all the
that is
compound
those.
of incidents that happened over like that run of comics that led to the first Civil War.
Well, yeah, yes and no. Yes, it's true. But if you actually read that first issue, get a chance to read that or that issue in particular, where I think it's the run. I think it's a Runaways issue, Civil War. Um, no, it's not Runaways. It's another. They've a few times. They've kind of a young group that have been using social media a lot. They've film themselves doing the hero runs and stuff like that, and they're getting very popular. And but as everyone knows, there are certain villains you don't against. You like Avengers, or a big guy, one of the bigger teams to turn up. Turns up and they're like, "This will get us 1 billion followers. We'll be the biggest team in the world. We'll go after them." And they go into this fight completely unprepared, don't ask for any help, don't necessarily do anything, and they go in, start.
They start what, Jax? Well, viewers, we have lost Jax. It seems. Hello, Jax.
Hello,
Well, viewers, we lost Jax for a second. I think
hello,
Jax
hello.
is back.
On my back. Good. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, I can hear you again. You like we're in the middle of saying something and then just cut out. It's like what?
I don't know why. A massive fight. And they they've not prepared for any of this. Uh, and it's a great scene because it starts off. Uh, it's really unfortunate because they've taken out a couple like houses and some trees, but then as well as the heroes. But then the camera pans out or the image pans out, and like behind that is a school bus. It's like, oh shit, they've killed a school bus. And the school bus is the school with the kids in the playground, and the explosion's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And yeah, so I mean, the argument there is it weren't necessarily. I mean, Nitro would be in Nitro. If they had just let him run, he wouldn't have exploded there, and they would have left him for someone else to be able to actually sort it. But no, they decided for views that they were
I
going to
know.
do it
I
completely
know.
unprepared.
I've read the whole Civil War, including all the little
I, I
offshoots, and it's like
I know you have
but
things for
it
other
is a
people.
horrible thing. It is a horror. It is those kids were just idiots because they were like.
Then later on it is retconned slightly that I believe it's not the intelligentsia. Who are the bad version of the intelligentsia? No, the intelligentsia are the bad ones, isn't it? And it's the Illuminati are meant to be the better version. Anyway, yeah, no, intelligentsia had set Nitro up as well as this young team to cause a problem that they just didn't realize how big that problem was going to be. And that yeah, they were behind a lot of the Civil War issues.
Oh yeah, but it's the same. Well, I still part way through the Krakoan era, I got distracted by the Flash. I'll be honest,
That's completely understandable.
and but because I have Marvel Unlimited, I can read that whenever I want to read it anyway. I can go back and read it later and continue.
Yeah.
But that era is such a, you know,
Yeah, I mean, Marvel's had some fantastic eras in their run, to be honest. Um,
yeah.
Another great run to get hold of,
Apparently, though,
especially
there's
if
a
you're
problem
watching.
with his. I can't remember who is it that wrote. Is it that did the Krakoan? Is it what's his name again? I forget his name. The one that started it.
Oh, bloody hell, Scottish guy.
Apparently, he has a habit of leaving
Oh,
mid way through.
where is it? I've got a copy sitting right here. Oh, Morrison.
That's it. Morrison has a habit of
Oh,
unfortunately
Hickman.
Hickman
Hickman.
has a habit of
John
starting
Hickman.
really amazing storylines and then leaving halfway through them by accident.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be fair, Grant Morrison does something very similar. He's got a fantastic way of getting these fantastic, complicatedly wonderful stories into play and then just going, oh, the universe fixed it. No,
Yeah, no, the issue with
no, man.
Hit with the other one is with Hickman at the minute. Apparently, he keeps leaving and then someone else has to finish the story.
Yeah, that happens, though. The
It's because
Captain
he
America
starts something
Bullseye.
else with someone else, basically. I think it is. But he apparently
Yeah, but I
what
mean,
he did with
sometimes.
Krakoa is actually apparently his signature thing of he likes to take heroes and make them found a new society, aka the Fantastic Four and the Thingy Foundation and the Council of Reeds.
I mean, it's just. I mean, he's a
kind of
world
shtick,
builder.
but I liked the Krakoan era because it gave the mutants a homeworld, and then it also revealed that the mutants' greatest enemy in any timeline is fucking Moira McTaggart.
Like I say, fantastic run. It's both of us have enjoyed it thoroughly. So yeah. Also, if you're enjoying the Flash, I definitely would recommend once again. Well, actually, no. I mean, if you've got Amazon, you've got Kindle, so you can get a load of actually Amazon Prime a load of comics for free on Amazon Prime, and there's a couple of really great Flash stories in there to do with rebirth stuff. But in particular, think um, I think the button is available on there, which is the first part of the Watchmen story, Doomsday Clock. And it comes off of the back of a crisis, shall we say. It's very good. But if you ever follow those stories on, if you ever follow Rebirth on, you get to learn about all the different forces, which you'll learn about in the show soon, but in a bit of a different way. Um, you have come across Godspeed already, I believe. Speedster in white.
Oh, well, he's popped up a little bit in the episode in this season. He popped up in the Nora season as the reason Nora discovered she had speed because
Yeah.
she got thrown about by him.
Yeah. Well, without too many spoilers, actually, I won't give you any spoilers. The Godspeed in the Flash TV series is not only incredibly well wasted, the storyline is completely bonkers. And only because they didn't want fans to guess what was going on. But then I think they forgot to tell us what was going on. So it kind of didn't matter. In the comic books, fantastic villain. And a fantastic friend to Barry as well. Because even like they know who each other are, they know what's going on. He's always happy to give Barry some good advice, some useful advice. Just Barry hates him.
Is that right? Barry hates a certain other person that keeps giving him advice and actually helps him half the fucking time in that show. You know who I'm on about, don't you?
Yeah, very similar to Welsh, yeah.
Wells.
To Phil Ichabod.
Yeah, I love the fact that Reverse keeps actually helping him, and he's like, "I hate your guts." I'm like, "But Barry, he actually keeps trying to help you, and it's kind of funny." If you ask me.
Well, weird enough, depending on which variation of Professor Zoom, Reverse Flash, and just plain old Ichabod Thorne in the comics, yeah, I mean, there's kind of that's very similar dynamic. And to be fair, the dynamic they had for Reverse Flash in that was very, very good. And the two actors they got to play him,
it's really weird.
awesome.
Every time he pops up after the first season, like he's just wearing Wells's face again.
No, see,
up till season 6,
this is where
he's popping up with his own, without his face as a Wells.
Except for in Legends of Tomorrow, where he pops up as the original. So
it was the original. It's weird though, because like you know in not Elseworlds, you know the Elseworlds one. You know the one with the Nazi planet.
Yeah.
He keeps. The thing that I find hilarious about him is he keeps going. He's wearing Thorne's face again, and I'm like, why is he back as Thorne? Not Thorne. Why is he back as as Wells? But then I'm realizing it's because of what happened in beginning of season 3, which created Savitar and everything. It's because that's the Eobard Thorne that helped him, basically.
Yeah, so one of the things that and they do mention this, it's not literally, it's not mentioned enough, but they do mention this. One of the reasons that the Reverse Flash can survive almost everything and keep coming back is because he and survives the wraiths and all those sort of things, is he's actually positioned himself through multiple parts in time. So to an extent, there is always another one to replace him a few seconds later. Yeah, but here's the thing: with the events of what happened pre the Flash show with Harrison Wells and Ichabod Thorne, you do have a stable timeline as to which character you're getting as and when. So there's um, whenever you get the original face,
Hmm.
these are all things the Reverse Flash was doing prior to losing his powers on Earth after coming back to try and finally just destroy the Flash. Um, Whenever you see Tom Cavanagh's face, it's after that point. So for things like Legends of Tomorrow, where it's the old face, that's because that happened before the events of the Flash TV series or that timeline.
It's so weird though when you see them. I love when his other face shows back up in I think it's season 2 when they're dealing with Zoom when Reverse Flash shows up and it's the old
Mm-hmm.
face and it's like I now know what time you're from. It's just a matter of time before I figure out who you are, Flash.
Yeah.
Oh, just like
Yeah, so yeah, so you do actually get, like I say, you do get these. There is within their weird timey-wimey time traveling shit. There is actually a timeline to follow that is kind of sensible up until a certain point towards the end of Legends of Tomorrow. It's explained why it is the way it is, um, and the Flash series also kind of explains what it
well,
is what
I
it
think
is.
isn't the last
Um,
2 or 3 seasons of Flash in an alternate timeline or something after because something happens basically that changes the timeline again.
so after Crisis,
I know they're all on Earth Prime.
which all on Earth Prime. There is technically, well, they, because of so they know of no other realities,
Hmm.
because everyone they know of is on their Earth.
Hmm.
There is a reason for this because all the heroes and villains that are there are all the ones Oliver Queen knows of, and that's why he lumped them all back together. The ones that are not in the same reality, so things like Titans and um, Swamp Thing. I can't remember what the other show was. Um,
Stargirl.
they Stargirl, yes, Stargirl, and without giving you, this is a spoiler, and Superman and Lois. Although they don't give you it
It's
it's a
annoying that
beginning of
because
a
they use the
sneak.
same fucking
It's a
actors.
beginning of a sneak.
You know why
So
that annoys me though. That one, the Superman and Lois one, where they decided, no, we're gonna have Superman and Lois as a separate universe from the Arrowverse, and it's like, you could have cast 2 other actors to play Superman and Lois then, please, because all
no,
I'm
no, no, no. I was happy. I was happy with that. That wouldn't have upset me at all if they had told us this in the first place. But they said, no, no, no. We gave you a hint because at the end of uh, Crisis, when he's talking to Lois and he says, "How's the baby?" and she says, "Don't you mean the babies or the boys?" Um, that was meant to indicate, oh, you're now seeing a different reality. I didn't get it. I just thought everything, this reality had changed to having both of the kids in my head.
hmm
Um,
I will say about the episode I recently watched where Lex had stolen the book while they were trying to find the Superman,
mhm.
Paragon, and we got the Tom Ellis' Superman, not Tom Ellis, the other guy, the what's his name, the one that
one of,
played Smallville. That
one
we
of them.
Yeah, we also got Smallville Lois Lane as well with him. I was like genuinely happy that we got those two together. Like just
Yeah, the mother of Kara Zor-El in Supergirl.
yeah, I was like I was genuinely happy that it's like, hey look, that would have been so funny if Kara was there when this and Lois had walked out though. That would have been hilarious. Though I
And
did love
he
that whole
punches
sequence of
and
Lex trying to
stepping
talk.
on the kid's toy.
I
Well, yeah,
did love
so
that whole
that weird
Lex
enough,
bit for a bit. Just him like
that was Tom Willingham's one thing currently. That because they said they were going to have this scuffle with Lex, or this confrontation with Lex, and he was like, "Well, I want my Superman to just be dad. He's giving it all up. So like, yeah, we can do that. You're gonna punch him. He's like, yeah, that's fine. Um, but yeah, I like the way that they actually rounded off Smallville there with the fact that he is the dad. He's still stupidly strong, just not
Super strong.
Superman strong,
Just
and he's made up with his Lex.
yeah, Lex. Oh, the president's going into town. Well, to be fair, in that
Yeah.
show, the whole thing in that show, him and Lex were not really enemies at all throughout that show. It was literally like a sibling spat the whole show between those two.
Lex was upset that he felt he couldn't be trusted by his best friend,
Hmm.
and then the two of them went wildly. Yeah, I mean, the two of them went wildly out of sync with each other over
Over the course of the
being
show.
angry at each other. Very good,
The whole of
very good.
19DX has the Smallville has the whole of Smallville on it, as well as Gotham and all of Arrow. And I'm like, I'm tempted just to sit and after watching this and then watching the Arrow. I know that I've already watched a load of the crossovers to the Arrow, like later seasons, but I kind of want to watch
Yeah,
the Arrow just because I like Steve Arnell. He's quite cool. But I'm going to wrap this up. We're going to wrap this up in the next minutes. We've actually not talked about Doctor Who all this episode, despite the fact that we were. I think today is unfortunately been a comics episode. It's mostly
yes.
because the Flash is just like the forefront of my mind in TV shows at the minute. It's what I'm watching. I don't normally like DC stuff. Like, there's the very few DC things I generally like. I don't like DC comics. I don't really read the comics for DC because I can't be bothered buying them or getting the subscription to the app because I can't justify it. Since all I probably would is read like a one or two of the major storylines and then never use it for ages, which is, you know what I mean. Whereas the Marvel, when I read
Yeah, I mean,
comics like regularly, I regularly go on the app and I will regularly just go, I want to see I want to go read the Deadpool storyline, or I want to go read like one of the classic X-Men storylines and stuff, or I want to go read, God forbid, the Clone Saga.
I completely understand. I would definitely say use the try and find one of the free subscription bits to read a couple of those stories, um, or even just unsubscribe for a little bit on one and jump over to the other
Mm-hmm.
for a month. There are some incredibly good stories on DC that I think you would enjoy. The search option does give you a nice option to just read eras and storylines. So you can pick up quite a few good ones. I would definitely recommend as a starting point. Weirdly enough,
Mm-hmm.
um, read Flashpoint
Flashpoint.
because this is a really good place to start. Read Flashpoint; it's fantastic.
It's a classic.
Then from Flashpoint, I mean, it's not only a classic.
It's
It is technically a crisis event. It's
it,
what restarted everything afterwards.
it will. To be fair, Flashpoint is like the Killing Joke. You can't there's two main characters for DC that I genuinely will like watch the films and usually enjoy the films that those characters are in and watch the shows is probably the Flash, Batman,
Mhm.
and the Batman is primarily not because of Batman himself, because personally I don't find other than Kevin Conroy's portrayal of him, I don't really find Batman to be that interesting of a character. It's the
So
villains.
this, yes. So weird enough, this is why I was recommending this story chain in particular. So if you start with Flashpoint,
Mm-hmm.
um, you do get. It is a very good Flash story, obviously, but you get a really nice take on all of the DC
Oh yeah,
history that's
yeah.
been
Thomas
slightly
Wayne and
changed.
Martha
Um,
Wayne.
yeah, yeah. But at the end of that, you get a letter to be given to Bruce. This then leads you over to another great story. There is stuff in between, but you really don't need to focus on that at the moment. You go for big stories,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll give you a nice view. So after that, you get a story called The Button, um, which is following on from a previous Flash story. The Flash finds, sorry, Batman, a Flash, it is Flash story, but Batman's in it. Batman finds the comedian's button from Watchmen in the wall of his Batcave, and he is confused as fuck. But the story of the button is literally about how the letter from his dad um, actually gives him a message when he goes near it with the button, and then all hell breaks loose. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so read that one, you'll love it. that then directly takes you into Doomsday Clock.
Well, like
Doomsday Clock.
Flashpoint is to the Flash what the Killing Joke is to Batman, in my opinion. It's one of those masterpiece ones that like you have to have read or
Yeah,
have to have like seen because they are like when it's done. Because those are
yeah.
like two of the
Oh yeah, I see.
some of the best stories. Also, Death in the Family.
Yeah. The thing about those books in particular is they were Death in the Family and Killing Joke. These were originally side universe stories that became canon
Oh yeah,
because of how popular they were.
oh yeah.
Um,
Killing Joke is
I mean,
how we got Oracle in the main universe. So Oracle is
yeah.
it, and
I mean, even in
the other one is
when
just straight up the whole is the bit
even
that
with New
and then
52, where everything was to start out from afresh.
mm-hmm.
Um, when they then got round to adding the Barbara character in and Batwoman, they literally have a bit where it's like they've got a bit of her in a wheelchair after an event, and it's like, in joke. The law's just this law, all right? Just add it in to an extent. So yeah, so you're right. It is very much like that. Although this was intentionally put in to be a new, complete refresh. There is, and it could have easily been a flop. The fact that it was iconic, it has stayed so much is just down to its fantastic writing. To be fair, which is what the other two that you mentioned were
Mm-hmm.
also their highlights. It was the writing, because what you were getting as well. I mean,
It's
there is
also
another
the
great
implied ending of
storyline, weirdly enough,
the
from
Killing Joke's implied actual ending. Why it was meant to be an Elseworld story. The original implied ending is that Batman's finally just killed him. Just is why the Batman keeps laughing at the end of it and Joker stops suddenly. It's the implied original ending is that Batman kills the Joker, finally realizing he's got no choice. He has to do it.
I mean, there's like, let's say it's loads
But
and
that's one
loads.
of those stories that it's open to interpretation. Like one of the
Yeah.
most common like things is that because the Batman's still laughing at the end of it, and then the final panel, but the Joker isn't. Is that he basically snapped his neck at the end. He
Yeah,
realized.
but then the other side of it is that once Batman got the joke,
Mm-hmm.
what's funny?
But those
You
two
know,
together are brilliant. I need to actually check what is the DC animated unit. It might just be literally DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths, like with animated film.
oh yeah, oh yes, no, it's DC Crisis and Infinite Earths Part 1, 2, and 3.
Is it a film?
I own the first part. Yeah, all three of them are feature length. Actually, very good.
Yeah,
I haven't seen
I
the
want to
third
watch it
part
just
yet.
because I like the
Um,
idea of that. I like the idea of watching it because I like seeing Kevin. One of Kevin's last voices, because Kevin Conroy, as we both agree, is the de facto best animated Batman. Like, there's a reason the Arkham games even got him as the Batman in the Arkham games because no one else can voice the character well enough. And I think it's like even the studio that makes Arkham, like Batman games aren't going to struggle. I don't think if we get new Batman games or new Batman like animated stuff because Kevin's gone. But it's going to take a while, I think, for people to adjust. It's like a new Joker
well,
and a new Batman because both
well, not
iconic
really.
names.
So, I mean, Kevin Conroy technically hasn't been the voice of Batman for quite some time now. They brought him back every so often. Other people have played him. Jensen Ackles has played him quite a few times
Oh yeah,
in features.
I think Jensen's probably
Um,
is what a lot of people apparently were picking as their to replace him
he's very
because he's very good
he's
at playing
very
him.
very good, and like I say, to say replace, um, kind of. I mean, like I say, there's been a number of actors in between. Kevin Conroy being a permanent mainstay, he is the fans' choice by all means. He is the iconic choice. And always nice to have him back in anything. Same way as getting the original voice of Optimus Prime in anything. It's a true arcing back to what we love as at the core. But yeah, in modern times, he was less and less
Well,
the Batman. of choice and more the Batman of our choice.
I
Um,
don't know. He's been Batman,
he's been in
Gotham
the most.
Knight, Batman. He's been like base 2008, 2009, 2010, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 8, 17, 19, 2016 to 18. He's also in 2 Titans Go, Scooby Doo Guess Who.
Yeah.
He's been in so
Oh wait,
many.
he did a lot of the extra stuff as well. I mean, a lot of that will be voice acting, as it for
Yeah.
other publications and things as well. But yeah, no,
He's in
there's been
part
a, there's been a
Justice
few.
League Crisis on Infinite Earths. He's in part 3 of it.
Yeah,
He's in
fair enough there.
part 3. There's a little scene with him versus Mark Hamill's Joker,
Who
basically.
who who's playing him as the main Batman? I think he's been playing for a couple of films.
Jensen Ackles.
There we go.
He has basically become the kind of the go-to voice actor for him, I think, now.
Oh, he was other than
I love how
I
Nolan
have a weird
North
thing.
is Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, Amazo, Pariah, and John Constantine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so Nathan Fillion did a fantastic run as Hal Jordan, voicing Hal Jordan in a couple of animated films. And Jensen Ackles, I think, could easily be wrong here, but I think he voiced Green Arrow for a bit, other than being him in what's his name? I think he was a Green Arrow for a couple of things. Because I'm sure he was another hero for a while. But like I say, Rosenbaum, who was Lex Luthor in Smallville, was an excellent Flash. I believe he did a Wally and a Barry. Another little Flash mystery, if you want to have some fun with it, whilst you're in the Flash mood, is watching Justice League, the animated series. Because once you learn a little bit about Barry Allen and Wally West
Mm-hmm.
and how their characters get their abilities, which is very, very similar, proper Wally West, not modern Wally West. Um, Try and work out in any scene where they only call him the Flash, whether or not it's Wally or Barry. Because weird enough, they very rarely call him. The times that they call him Barry are times when he's showing himself to be more like Wally West. And every so often they'll call him Wally. And no one knows why.
Well, I think
But
what I'm
yeah,
gonna I'm gonna pause my game. I think I'm gonna say goodbye to everyone today. Are you gonna say goodbye, Jax?
I'll